Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be a mega one, and by mega I mean that I'm going to show you a lot of fragrances. Behind me I've lined up all the Lattafa fragrances in my current collection. So in this video today I'm going to go over all of the Lattafa scents in my collection as quickly as possible. I think there are a total of 38 fragrances that I'm going to show you in this video today, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about each and every scent. I'll try to quickly tell you if it's a clone of something or if it's not a clone of something, roughly and quickly how it smells, how it performs, and that will be pretty much it about each and every one of them. So let's go take a look at my Lattafa collection. And the first one that I'm going to show you is called Opulent Musk, and this fragrance is a sort of a clone or a twist on the Baccarat Rouge DNA with a moderate performance and moderate projection. It's not a bad fragrance on its own, it just I have better clones of Baccarat Rouge, and also this thing just does not perform as good as all the other clones that I have of the original scent, but one good thing about this one is that it's very cheap. The next one that I'm going to show you is called Caet al Frusan. This fragrance has been very hyped up, and still to this day a lot of people, I know that a lot of people like this one. It's a fruity sort of a little bit of a basic type of scent that relies heavily on the note of pineapple, but I really haven't been enjoying that much this fragrance, and that's why it's listed in the category of fragrances that I don't really like from Lattafa. The next one is called Velvet Oud. This fragrance is sort of a clone of Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather. You get that leathery, very leathery fragrance with a touch of rose, some oud, I think agar oud, a bit of raspberry. But for some reason, lately I've really been enjoying leather-based fragrances, but this one just hasn't been, enjoyable for me, and that's why I'm going to put it, in the category of, in this category. The next one is called Badia Al Oud, or Oud for Glory for a short. Another very hyped up fragrance. Now on its own it's not a bad fragrance, it's a clone of Initio's Oud for Greatness. It's really nicely done, but I just haven't been enjoying this fragrance. It lacks a bit of sweetness for me to fully enjoy this one. Also, performance here has been a bit disappointing, at least in my own experience. The next one is called Fakhar or Fakhar Black. This fragrance is a clone of YSL EDP. I've said this many times, but EDP is not one of my favorite scents, and that's why, all the clones of Y I don't really enjoy that much. This is a little bit like a sweeter, more youthful take on the EDP DNA with above average performance. The next one is called Raw Human, one of the new releases, part of the Lattafa Pride line. It's a very leathery fragrance that has some fruity sweetness, some spices, but for some reason I really don't enjoy this fragrance, and especially the dry down. The opening is bearable for me, but the dry down has been really disappointing for me. Performance here is again above average, let's call it that. And the next and the last fragrance in this category is going to be Riot, again from Lattafa. This fragrance is a fruity based fragrance. Again, you get sort of a lot of fruity sweetness, you got some spiciness, some ouds. It's somewhat reminiscent of Excess from Paco Rabanne. Also somewhat reminiscent of something like Cedrat Boisé Intense from Mancera, but again a fragrance that I have not really been enjoying that much. Performance again a little bit above average. Let's move on to the next category of fragrances. These will be the ones that I've been enjoying a little bit more compared to the first few that I showed you. I've been wearing these ones a little bit more, but still they're not my favorite Lattafas, and I'm going to start with one called Kaltat Al Arabiya. This is a very fruity, very sweet fragrance that leans heavily into the feminine territory with above average performance. The next one is called Confidential Private Goat. This fragrance is a clone of Kirke from Tiziana Terenzi, also can serve as an alternative to Herba Pura. You get that very sweet, very musky DNA. And again, another feminine leaning fragrance like the original scent. performance here, again above average, very low price tag. The next one will be Opulent Oud from Lattafa. This is a very Middle Eastern fragrance, heavy on the rose, jammy, sweet jammy rose, heavy on the amber, heavy on the agar oud. The reasons why this is a little bit lower ranked, lately I've been enjoying this type of scents, you know, but this one is just it's just too sweet, let's call it that, and too oody. And I rarely, you know, find the opportunity to actually wear this fragrance. Performance here, though, is fantastic. It's a beast mode performing scent, and if you love rose-based fragrances, especially if you like sweet rose-based fragrances, then Opulent Oud is actually a very nice choice, especially because it has great performance and also very low price tag. The next one will be Lattafa Najdia. This is a very, you know, likable scent. I know that it has a lot of fans, a lot of people like this one. It's a clone of Paco Rabanne's Invictus. You get that sweet bubblegummy type of scent with musks and ouds on the dry down. Performance here is about average. Very youthful scent that works great in hot weather. It's just not my favorite DNA. That's why it's part of this, you know, fragrances. The next one will be Kaet from Lattafa. This is a very interesting scent. It's very smoky, very sweet from a vanilla note. You get quite a lot of suede leather in here as well. You know, an interesting scent that's unisex in my opinion, leans maybe a little bit to the masculine side. Performance is good, well above average, and price tag is, you know, pretty low usually, and has a sort of a Middle Eastern edge to it. And then the last fragrance that I'm going to show you in this section is called Lattafa Massa, again part of the newer members of the Lattafa Pride line. It's a great clone of Ganymede. Now, the reason why it's here is not because it's a bad fragrance. It has very nice quality, you know, very good performance, unique looking bottle. It's just that I'm not a huge fan of Ganymede itself. This is like a slightly more fruitier, more bubblegummy take on the, you know, Ganymede DNA, but it's really nicely done. Let's go with a few more other Lattafas. The first one, Lattafa Sheikh Al Shouk Final Edition. This is yet another clone of YSLY EDP, but feels a little bit less sweet, a little bit more woody, a little bit more spicy, and it's probably my favorite take when it comes to a YEDP clone with above average performance. The next one is this mini bottle that I think is 30 ml in bottle size. It's called Lattafa Asrar, and this is yet another take on the Invictus DNA. It's not a bad fragrance. I really like the, you know, the bottle size and the fact that you can carry this in your pocket and respray through the day. Performance here is about average. The next few, the original Ragba, again in a 30 ml bottle size, a very Middle Eastern fragrance with quite a lot of sweetness and performance that's well above average. In fact, performance wise, it's a great performer. You just need to like fragrances with a heavy Middle Eastern vibe to them. The next one, the Ragba Oud Intense, let's call it the bigger brother of the OG Ragba. This one feels a little bit less sweet compared to the OG, a little bit more smoky, feels even more Middle Eastern, but the performance here is fantastic. I really like this fragrance, and it's great for the colder months of the year. And then again, one of the newest Lattafa fragrances in my collection, called Mahir Legacy. This fragrance is a clone of Parfum de Marly's Sadly, and it's a very nicely done clone, very fresh, very aromatic type of scent profile. That's super versatile performance for a freshie. Actually, so far is turning out to be very good. You get a unique looking bottle design, very heavy, and you can use just as a side note, as a hint, if you ever need to self-defend yourself at your home, you can use the bottle of Mahir Legacy as a weapon for sure. The next scents that I'm going to show you are fragrances that I've been enjoying quite a lot from the house of Lattafa, and I'm reaching for quite often. Not my absolute most favorite Lattafa fragrances, but still I think they're you know, one of the better Lattafa fragrances that you can actually get. I'll start with the one called Liam, or Liam Grey as it's called in some places. This is a clone of BDK's Gris Charnel, and it's actually a very nicely done fragrance. To my nose, leans a little bit to the feminine side. Performance here is well above average, you know, and price tag is pretty low. The next one, again from that very same line, Liam line, this is called Liam Blue, and this is a clone of Acqua di Gio Profondo. It's a nicely done fresh fragrance with performance that's actually better than the original scent, and a pretty low price tag, especially, you know, after the initial hype, after the release of this fragrance. The next one is one of the newest Lattafa fragrances in my collection, and it's called Badia Al Oud Sublime. It's a really nice fruity fragrance with a lot of sweetness, a bit of you know, a touch of rose in here, some muskiness. Get a nice shower jelly vibe out of it. Great for warm weather, but leaning you know, performance is decent, but it's leaning quite heavily into the feminine side when it comes to the scent profile. The next one, another member of the Lattafa Pride line. This one is called Ishq Al Shuk Silver, and this is a clone of Paco Rabanne's 1 Million Lucky. It's a sort of a slight twist on the original DNA. Performance is pretty good, again well above average. You get a nice looking bottle, and the price tag a little bit higher, but it's a member of the Pride line. And the last fragrance in this section will be called Eternal Oud. Again, this is a member of the Lattafa Pride line. This fragrance is a great clone of MFK's Grand Soir. You get that very you know, sweet scent profile. You get a very unique looking bottle. Performance here is fantastic, projection is fantastic, a perfectly unisex fragrance that's great for the colder months of the year. And two more fragrances that I forgot to mention you know, in this part of the video of Lattafas that are worth checking out in my opinion. The first one, again from the Lattafa Pride line, and it's called Ansam Silver, and this is a nicely done clone of Azaro's The Most Wanted. It's a slightly greener take on the original DNA. And then again another Lattafa Pride line fragrance, this one called La Collection d'Antiquities 1886, one of the newer Lattafa members. This is an interesting twist on the iris, you know, the lipsticky iris DNA. It's somewhat reminiscent of something like Dior Homme Intense, but this feels a lot more like sweeter, but you get a nice chocolatey note in this fragrance that changes the DNA quite a bit. Performance here above average, nothing spectacular. I'm not really a huge fan of the twist, but still it's an interesting twist on Dior Homme Intense's DNA. And now moving on to my most favorite Lattafas fragrances from the house of Lattafa that I think are definitely worthy of being checked out. The first one, a hidden gem of a fragrance that's called Al Awsaf. This fragrance is a very interesting sort of a clone of something like a Spice Bomb Extreme, even something like a Noir Extreme from Tom Ford. But in order to get close to those fragrances, you need to wait for the dry down of this one. It's nice, sweet, spicy fragrance that feels a lot less spicy compared to the original scents that I just told you, but it's a very nice unisex fragrance with surprisingly good performance. The next one freshie that I really like a lot from Lattafa and part of the Hayati line, the Lattafa Hayati Black, a nice clone of again Invictus, but I really prefer this one over Najda for an example, because I think this has better performance than Najda, and I enjoy this one more. Another freshy scent from the Lattafa Pride line called Al Qiyam Silver. This fragrance is a clone of Bulgari's Tiger, and probably scent-wise the closest thing to Tiger that you can get. Performance here is pretty good, well above average. It's a little bit more expensive again because of it's part of the Lattafa Pride line. The next one is Lattafa Assad, one of the, you know, fragrances that put Lattafa on the map when it comes to Western markets. A very nice clone of a Dior Sauvage Elixir, a little bit sweeter than Elixir, a little bit less spicy, but very nice fragrance with a great performance. The next one, again another member of the Hayati line, this one called Hayati Gold Elixir. This fragrance is a nice take on the Armani called Profumo DNA. You get that sweet, slightly fruity fragrance with a nice suede leather, perfectly unisex with above average performance. The next one will be Lattafa's Al Nashama, one of the newer Lattafa fragrances, a great clone of Initio's Paragon. You get that sweet, juicy plum note in here with some oud, some spices. Really lovely fragrance. I absolutely love this DNA, and Lattafa have done a great job at copying the original fragrance. Performance here is above average. Another clone of Paragon, from this one from the Pride line, that's called Vintage Radio. I really like the bottle design in here, pretty similar, pretty close to Al Nashama, although I think Vintage Radio is a little bit closer to the original scent. Both of them are great performers, both of them are unisex scents, both of them cost equally the same at the moment, but if I have to choose one of them, I'll go with Vintage Radio. And let's continue on with another fragrance from Lattafa. This one is called Ram Silver. This is a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultra Malt. It's a little bit more vanillic, a little bit like slightly more basic take on that DNA, but still very nice. Some sweet pear, very vanillic sweetness, a bit of mint, a very youthful scent, which after some maceration turned into a really good performer. And the best thing about this fragrance is the super low price tag. The next one will be again an Al Nashama fragrance, this one called Al Nashama Caprice, and this one is a clone of YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric. It's slightly fresher than Blue Electric, feels a little bit more powdery, but performance here is better than the original scent, and especially the projection is way better. It's a very lovely fragrance. I absolutely love it. The next one will be again from the Lattafa Pride line. This one is called Ishq Al Shuk Goat, a fantastic clone of Rosendo's Mathieu No. 5. You get that very sweet, smoky vanilla fragrance that has a nice suede leather in it, some muskiness, fantastic performer, in fact a beast mode performing fragrance with beastly projection, and in my opinion it's a unisex scent. The next two will be the two Lattafa cameras. Firstly, the OG Lattafa camera fragrance that's somewhat close to Killian's Angel. Here you get that very sweet scent profile with some spiciness, a perfectly unisex beast mode performing fragrance. As you can see, this metal plaque on my bottle has fallen off. I have to glue it back on. And then the other one is Lattafa Camera Kawa. This is like a more modern or more interesting take on the DNA of the OG camera. You get a nice coffee note added in here that makes the scent a little bit more interesting in my opinion. Even better performance compared to the already great performing OG. And if I have to choose one of the two, I will go with Lattafa Camera Kawa if I have to choose. And that brings me on to the last Lattafa fragrance featured in this video, and it's going to be Amir Al Oud Intense, one of the first Lattafas that I ever got, and still to this day one of my most favorite Lattafas. It's a great Middle Eastern scent profile. You get a lot of sweetness, you get a lot of oudiness, you get a lot of smokiness, very cozy scent, very sweet scent. Absolutely love it. In my opinion, perfectly unisex, that has great performance, and as I said, still to this day it's one of my most favorite Lattafa fragrances. So guys, in today's a little bit of a challenging video, I tried to show you all Lattafa fragrances in my current collection. I think I showed you a total of 38 Lattafa fragrances. I hope that you found this video entertaining. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.